Okay, so here we are with. Tell me how you pronounce your name properly, just so I don't get
My
it
name
wrong.
is Løvstrøm.
Løvstrøm.
Løvstrøm. And
Løvstrøm.
my father was Danish, and yeah, he grew up in Copenhagen, and quite an interesting guy. Grew up in occupied Copenhagen, and was heavily involved in the resistance, which is a really horrible time. But all his family were involved in the resistance. But yeah, that's my father's side of the family, Danish and Swedish.
Okay, well, thank you very much for doing this interview with us, Peter.
You're welcome.
So, obviously, let's go back in the past. I mean, you've had quite an accomplished acting career for I think 30 years. Is that right?
Yeah.
So, how did that all start?
I grew up in London, and I used to go to a youth theatre in Chelsea that was connected to the Royal Court Youth Theatre. The Royal Court Theatre in Chelsea, which is a prestigious theatre. And there was a youth theatre there, and I became involved with it. And after a while, various directors and casting directors would come along and watch our productions, and sometimes they would offer you interviews and auditions for jobs. And I suddenly became an actor at the age of 18. And before I knew it, I was working in television and film and theatre and occasionally radio and adverts and training films and everything, really. So I spent 30 years of my life doing that. Yeah.
Right. And so what would you say, looking, obviously it's a big question, but looking over the last 30 years, what have been the real highlights for you?
As an actor, I loved working in the various London theatres I worked at. I enjoyed working as a live performer. I've worked at the Royal Court Theatre and the Royal National Theatre and Stratford East Theatre, and I've toured all over the various theatres in Great Britain and Northern Ireland as well. And I've even taken Shakespeare to India. That I was in India for about 4 or 5 months doing Shakespeare and Greek plays, Sophocles and Oedipus, and they were very exciting. But I've also appeared in feature films and done some great television series and soap operas, and I've worked with various people that are very famous now, people like Ray Winstone and Gary Oldman, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I've thoroughly enjoyed being an actor, and I used to love working with stuntmen occasionally in various TV dramas where I've been shot or killed, and working with stuntmen because when I was younger, I was an acrobat and a gymnast, and I was fascinated by the work of stuntmen, and was always talking to them, and was fascinated by how these group of people would make their living, not knowing if they were going to come back that day sometimes, right. And just watched with awestruck of them. People that you were having breakfast with in the morning, and they're jumping off a tower block at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and you're watching them. And the other thing that acting gave me was it let me travel all over the world. It let me travel all over the world, which I would never have done otherwise if I hadn't have been an actor.
Sure.
And so yeah, I've worked in America, I've worked in Hong Kong, I've worked in India, I've worked in virtually all of Europe. Worked a bit in China, and so I've worked everywhere really. So yeah, very exciting career, very enjoyable.
Yeah. And of all of the countries that you've travelled to and that you've seen, which one really has left the biggest impact on you?
Oh, that's a tricky question. India, I think. India had a profound effect on me. I was about 28 when I went to India, and we were over there for 4 or 5 months. I've been to other distant places as well, like Hong Kong in the late 70s, but India had a more profound effect on me because it was like landing on a different planet. Wow. It was, for instance, a lot of the cars and motorbikes were old models of the ones that we have in England, but they were new versions of it. So it felt like you were living in the past because you'd see old Vincent motorcycles or Lee Enfield motorbikes, or I think they were Lee Enfield, and it was just really strange because they were old cars and old motorbikes, but they were brand new. and that was strange. And it was so diverse over there. It was abject poverty living next to abject wealth, and that was quite hard to get your head round sometimes. But extraordinarily, in all that poverty, the people seem to be immaculately clean, and you go on buses and things like that, and you know, it smelt better than the Northern Line in London, right, because they just seemed to have clean clothes and have washed and stuff like that. It was they had a great sort of dignity about them, the Indian people, and a great spirituality that was completely different to the spirituality I grew up in. I grew up in Roman Catholic, usually Irish schools, you know, where 99% of the students were Irish, second generation kind of London Irish, and so I just grew up with Catholicism really, and going to India and having the, you know, the Islamic and the Hindu faiths over there, it was pretty new to me when I was 28, and I was fascinated. A beautiful country, a beautiful culture, incredibly hospitable, incredibly generous, incredibly kind. So it had a profound effect on me. Yeah, I loved India. I enjoyed India a lot. Beautiful country. Yeah.
And one question just about acting. Obviously, you've acted a lot of years. Of all of the people that you've worked with, who would you admire as an actor?
Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman. Why is that?
I worked with Gary at the Royal Court Theatre for about a year, doing a couple of plays by Edward Bond, The Pope's Wedding and Saved, and he was a remarkable actor, incredibly real, incredibly talented, and completely believable, and really enjoyable to watch on stage and on a film, and very chameleon-like. You know, I'd see him in films like Sid and Nancy, where he played Sid Vicious, and then I'd see him in Prick Up Your Ears when he played Joe Orton, and he was Joe Orton, and he was Sid Vicious, and then I'd seen him play psychopaths in other various films, and he's just a bloody good actor. He's a bloody good actor and extremely talented, and I had a lot of respect for him. But other actors, Ray Winstone was a very, very good actor to work with, an incredibly generous person, very loyal friend, and was just livened up the screen when you watched it. He was inimitable, really. So yeah, they were two people that really stuck out to me, really. Yeah.
And Peter, you've mentioned that obviously your acting career you've kind of evolved away from that a little bit. Yes. What are you up to these days?
Well, I mean, it's kind of probably my last professional job was probably about 2 or 3 years ago, and I just wanted. It's such an egotistical profession, you know, and I wanted to do something that wasn't so self-centered. The thing is about the acting profession, I loved the job. I loved the art. I loved the creativity. Didn't always like the business. Show business, and it is show business. It's not show friendship. Right. And it's quite ruthless. It's quite ruthless. It's very fickle. You go in and out of fashion. And as a professional actor, you live in a state of being in a feast or a famine. And it's very, so much of the time you're not working unless you're the very fortunate 0.5% or something that appear to work all the time. So it was it could make you very insecure because you didn't know. You might be well off at the beginning of the year, and people would think, oh, well, you're an actor, you must have plenty of money, but they didn't realise that job would stop and then you'd have nothing. And money that you earned had to last you for the rest of the year, and then pay your tax from it, and all that sort of stuff. So it was quite tough, and I found recognition quite uncomfortable. I didn't really want to be recognised. I just wanted to do my job and then come home. Because people would often think you were that person. And it's quite a weird psychological thing sometimes. I feel sorry for soap opera stars. I've never been in a long-running soap. I've been in various long-running series, but not in soaps, apart from occasional episodes. Because for things like EastEnders, 1 out of 3 people watch EastEnders, and a lot of people think you are that character. And I've had friends, close friends, one close friend who's still in EastEnders, I won't mention his name, but he's a very close friend of mine, and he's been glassed in pubs and punched and stuff because they thought he was the character. And it's dangerous. It's dangerous. People are convinced and they can't separate the reality from the person.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So I wanted to get into something that I felt I was giving a bit more and not just being. And so I became involved in various therapies. And when I was younger, I was very into gymnastics and acrobatics and high diving and trapeze work and stuff. And I was used to injuries, and I became interested in massage and reflexology because it had been done to me, and I was very impressed with it. And I needed a sort of an add-on, something to do when I wasn't acting, and because I couldn't just completely rely on acting. I occasionally would teach drama, but I needed something else. And so I've moved into that slightly now. So that's where I am at the moment. But I still love to coach acting, and if acting jobs came up, I'd no doubt I'd think seriously about doing it. But so I can breathe a breath of fresh air that I don't have to wait for the phone to call, and so that's where I am at the moment.